Faye, hello. Services. This is a sort of subject we don't often get in the sense of big discussions in the AV industry, and we've been trying to hammer on about it for ages, but no one really sort of talks about it. It's all about product. How important are services, do you think, to the AV industry?
Oh gosh, well, so important. You know, I think there's a number of reasons, so it really depends how long we've got. But I think the whole managed service piece, I mean, if you're looking at AV businesses, it's very clear. You know, the margin on managed services is just so much more than you could ever imagine on hardware or even projects nowadays. You know, it's a competitive environment out there, and product margins just aren't what they were. Add into that the fact that it's a recurring revenue stream, you know, and if you do things right by your customer, then that's going to continue to recur, and you can add to that with new opportunities. And actually, it's just really what I believe is the new world of AV, you know, working with end users to provide real value to them past the hardware and past the functionality of product into the user experience. And, you know, it's really just the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about services in the AV industry.
What form does these services take? Is it something you should expect from the manufacturer or the integrator? Or is this something that, as a consultant or an advisor, I just wonder whether the word consultant's getting a bit old and hackneyed, and actually we should perhaps have a different word to describe what someone is giving that shows relative independence and knowledge about the business rather than as well as the product. That's quite a tough hat to wear, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, you know, the consultant's role is really about advice and guidance from a informed source. You know, somebody who knows the market in the industry and the you know, the product or the specialism for which they work, really. So, yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a very different consultant in our industry. You know, I don't specify technology specifically, and, you know, I don't look at system design, but what I do is work with channel and AV businesses as well as end users, which is a new focus for us, really, to ensure that they get the very best out of their systems, their AV assets and investments. Now, that could be making sure that the AV equipment does what it was meant to do in terms of functionality and features, and break-fix support is in place, because break-fix is never going away, it's technology. But more importantly, really, that they get the right experience with the technology so that the end user's vision is realised. So maybe they want to be able to collaborate better. Maybe they want more productivity. Maybe they want to be able to interview candidates, and actually the AV technology is just a vehicle for that. And I think sometimes in our industry, we get quite caught up with, you know, it's about the product. And for a lot of end user businesses, AV is just a small part to enable them to run their business and do the things that they need to do.
It's becoming a big part, isn't it? I mean, you know, especially since COVID. I mean, it just showed how important and strategic AV technology was in all its forms. I mean, you know, the fact that we now are immersed in the stuff, even though we may not realise it is AV, I just wonder whether we need to call it different. We're already seeing that. We had two major presentations on Teams this morning showing all the projector manufacturers were going around saying we have this, and this. For the first time, addressing the environment they're in rather than technology they're selling, even though that was a part of it. So you see the sales messages changing in favour of explaining where the technology sits in the environment for the customer.
Right, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's a very famous book that's called Start With Why, and I think that's a really important message. You know, we can all talk about what we sell, but actually it's important about why we do that and what value it provides. So, you know, for any end user looking for technologies or a certain user experience, why is that important? What challenge do they want to overcome? What do they want to gain? What value do they want to get out of it? And actually, as an industry, I think we need to think a little bit more about that rather than functionality and features. You know, why is it important that equipment's got that? Why is it important that those services deliver that kind of support mechanism?
It's it's been difficult, hasn't it? Because when you think about how inoperable, how non-interoperable technologies are, they're very much standalone individual environments that were sold on the back of their proprietary or individual feature set. Now they're being forced into the IT world, having to communicate with other non-AV technologies, if you like, either on the same network or sharing functionality with other environments. And you're just realising how they are not interoperable, which is a word in the IT world, which is it's just taken for granted. And it's that thinking, I think, isn't it? You know, where they sit and how they work with the IT and other departments. And that's I mean, so functionality is important from that point of view. I just wonder whether we're educating people about the right functionality they should have in a mixed environment, or any environment they're putting their stuff in that communicates with other technology.
Yeah, and I think what we've got to remember is that the world has shifted so much over the last few years for all the reasons that we're well aware of. And when we look at technologies and what service they provide, you know, whether that's presenting or, you know, showing content or whatever that is, that's all changed as well. So, you know, we have to focus in on that end user to understand what they need and what they require. And just as an example, you know, during the pandemic and lockdowns, people were at home and being able to collaborate at the touch of one button, you know, join call. And now we're inviting people back into meeting rooms and expecting them to use these complex systems to join this and select this source and manage this. And actually it's a challenge. And I think,
it's a big ask, isn't it?
Well, it is a big ask, and I think we need to be cognizant of that as an industry when we're looking at how we provide value for customers. So to come back to the service piece, you know, we can talk a little bit about break-fix services and ensuring technology is functioning as it should. That's always important and will continue to be. But we're rather moving into this new world of ensuring that services are providing value in terms of adoption. You know, can end users use the equipment? Can they really get the value out of them? Are they being trained how to do so? You know, are they being supported with events? Things like concierge services. And so that's moving into a direction of actually supporting end users in a very different way and helping navigate the challenges that they've come up against post-pandemic. So things like getting people back into the workplace, but also attracting new talent, retaining employees. You know, there's a whole host of challenges that actually we as an industry should be listening to and helping them to manage. And a really successful way of doing that is through a managed services approach. But you can only really define what's valuable to a end user by understanding where their challenges are and what their experience is right now.
Who manages services in-house? Is it the AV manager, or is that a new job function? Or will it be a new job function, do you think?
I think it differs depending on organisation. I think sometimes it's an AV manager, sometimes it's still facilities management, it might be IT. And I think with the convergence that we see, you know, a mix of all those things actually. And then we look at, you know, some organisations have in-house AV support, others have outsourced model, and then others are looking at changing that depending on what they're doing. So, you know, it's a bit of a complex picture, but again, it's looking at what's important for the end user. What are they trying to achieve? Are they trying to run an AV support function that works well operationally, is financially sound, is benefiting their external and internal customers? You know, what are the things that they're trying to do? And I just think, to go back to your consultants question, until we really understand the intentions and visions of the customer, how can we provide that value if we don't kind of do that step? So I'm a big believer in, you know, that discovery piece and understanding what works, and then having our industry players and the technology and the services really respond to those rather than the other way around.
Because we're dealing with, you know, we take features and technology features for granted, don't we? But we tend to ignore the softer, almost cultural issues that really make people effective. So they may understand the technology, but to be effective and collaborate properly, there are other factors at play there that encourage people to use the technology in a way that's productive, both for them and for the company, ultimately. Yeah, well, I think it's that thing about it should be invisible and it should be simple to use and it shouldn't be a task, because, you know, nobody's really purchasing AV for the sake of purchasing it. It's all as a mechanism to do something else, to do their day job, to run their business, to do whatever key things they need to do for their organisations. So, you know, I think sometimes as an industry we can, and it's not unusual to get caught up in that, you know, that technology and it can do this and that and the other, but actually understanding why our customers are buying it, what do they want to achieve for their businesses, and how can we facilitate that with the technology.
And it's just a slightly different approach, I think. And it all starts with asking the user what that looks like for them and helping them discover that for themselves.
It'd be interesting to see how this. It's outrageous that we're thinking of this as new, isn't it? When we should have been doing it years ago. The fact that it's dawned on people, perhaps it does take something like an awkward period like we've had with COVID that makes people think differently about how they're using technology, generally speaking, how effective it is, and where the next stages are, because their companies now are being run differently, aren't they? And they're expecting people to work in a slightly different way and using technology to help them, but actually it's getting the most out of that, and the technology helping the person work more effectively rather than the person understanding how the technology is developing. It's almost the other way around at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we talk about services, and of course that's kind of the core function of my business and what we do. But you know, if we talk about what service the technology provides, then that's something quite different. You know, about what it allows a business to do. But, you know, it is a shifting world, and we've had the pandemic, and now we've got, you know, still this post-pandemic world, really, but we've got the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis, and we've got supply chain issues, you know, that are rolling on a little bit as well. So I think we just need to appreciate that there are going to be challenges, and we need to be a bit agile in the way that we think, and we need to approach our customers in a way that really puts them at the centre of what we're doing as an industry again. That's not to say that they're not, but I think sometimes we can get a little bit blindsided by all the things that go on. And certainly being here at ISE is, you know, key for that. There's, I think, more than 1,000 exhibitors and, you know, lots of different technology to look at, which is fantastic. The industry's coming on and there's lots of development and innovation. But I think it always has to hinge into what customers need and what their goals and ambitions are for their businesses and organisations.
Well, it may be a technology fest, but I've heard precious little talk about services so far. Mm-hmm. So here we are in 2023. There needs to be more done, doesn't there? They need to be wearing it a lot more firmly on their shoulder and showing people. And lots of fantastic applications. Not one word so far have I heard about why they were putting on this application and what it would achieve through it, focusing still on the technology.
Yeah, and you know, we have been talking about managed services for a long time, and that's not to say that there's not been any progress. I mean, there's been fantastic progress in that vein, and there's lots of organisations that really offer first-class services to customers. And that's not just limited to integrators. You know, there are manufacturers out there who are doing really innovative things with their services, you know, at a very basic level, warranty extensions and warranty services, but actually really looking at how users engage with the technologies and how they can facilitate support with their product. Now that can do one of two things when you're looking at manufacturer and distributor level. Either you're selling services because it's very lucrative and you've got a recurring revenue stream and it's good for your business growth, or you can look at it to facilitate your product sales. You know, services to differentiate your brand and just sell more product because you're out in the market talking about how you can improve that experience. And there's some way to go on that, but you know, the industry's moving in the right direction, and it's really encouraging to see a service first approach that some are adopting now.